There is a level 10 you waiting to be unlocked. That's what this whole theme is on our level 10 living. It doesn't really matter. I love how the news cycle becomes so distracting. But the truth of the matter is, I won't reference any current event right now because whatever's happening right now will be another thing happening 6 months from now, another thing happening a month from now. But what about you? Do you know when you stand before Jesus, he's not going to ask you, how did you respond to the news cycle? He's not going to ask you, how come so-and-so, is president and so-and-so isn't president? Jesus isn't going to talk to you anything about that. He's going to talk to you about, what did I call you to do? When Peter was with John and Jesus had revealed to John some information about his future, Peter got a breakdown on his future and his destiny, and he turns around and says, well, Lord, what about John? What about John? And Jesus says, none of your business. It's amazing how preoccupied we are with countries and people and what happens to them. And the only one you're accountable for is you. Welcome to level 10 destiny. You've got a job you've got to do. You've got an assignment you've got to fulfill. Don't get distracted. Here's the focus for today's lesson. Page 14. Your prophetic destiny is a process to decode. God wove within you the gifts and talents and abilities that are unique to you. So here's what I love is the genius and the simplicity of this model. Up here, you glorify God by doing what? How do you glorify God? How do you do that? Jesus says the answer in John, John 17. And when he does the high priestly prayer before he dies, he says, Father, I glorified you on the earth because I finished the work you gave me to do. You glorify God when you do the work, when you accomplish the assignment. My gosh, that assignment. What are you called to do? That's your assignment. And to do that, you have to have a certain amount of knowledge. My people perish for lack of knowledge. What kind of knowledge? Well, you've got certain gifts, certain talents, and certain skills that you're, as a cluster, you could say, that you bring with you. That's your skill development. That's your knowledge, your skill, your talent. You've got to understand what you do well, what you do best, what you need to improve, what you need to learn. And this is like, in our model of what we do, this is on a scale 1 to 10. When I talk to folks that are 50 years old and older, I lean on them harder than when I talk to young people, because young people are just beginning the journey. But listen, a lot of my audience is over 50. You should be really operating at a level 10 clarity on your gifts, your talents, your skills, your abilities, which is why we focus on temperament. We focus on spiritual gifts. We focus on clarity, because you need a level 10 clarity. It was Napoleon Hill. People don't like me quoting him, but the guy had some great insight. Napoleon Hill said, these two things are common to all the great geniuses he interviewed in his generation. Definiteness of purpose. Definiteness of purpose backed by a burning desire. I come back to that myself when I get confused in the multiplicity of hats I wear and jobs I've got and expectations people have for me and opportunities that present themselves. What's my definite purpose? What is the work God called me to do? As a teacher, as a prophet, as a seventh mountain kind of guru guy. And then over here, the burning desire is, how am I showing up? Am I 100% alive? Am I in focus? Because if I have a burning desire and my state is appropriate, filled with the Spirit, present the way people need me to be, moving in the love requisite to the moment, or the boldness or the courage needed in the moment, is my state appropriate for the moment in destiny? Am I operating in the gifts that I need? Definiteness of purpose, burning desire, and then we have the path to get there. And the path is the moment-by-moment choices. What am I going to do now? Question mark. How will I use today? I'm going to go meet people. How can I use that time to meet people? I talked to one guy from CB Richard Ellis, a $1 billion guy, Mercedes, and he watched me at a country club or at a cocktail party or something. He said, you don't know how to work a room. I said, what do you mean? He goes, You're spending all your time talking to your friends, your buddies, and the people that like to talk to you. You're missing all the big donors in the room right here that need to know who you are. And they're not going to come up to you. They're waiting for you to come up to them. Well, some people walk away. I've seen Charlie Kirk is brilliant at this. Charlie Kirk is definite in purpose, burning desire. And I watched that young whippersnapper in his 20s raise like $5 or $6 million in a room I was in Mar-a-Lago with Rush Limbaugh speaking for him. That's favor, that's talent, but I'll tell you something, that's a young man who's focused on what he wants, and he gets it because he won't be denied it. Choices. Every day you've got options as to how you use your time, your contact list, the random appointments God gives you. I want to focus right now on one of the most powerful tools I've ever come across. And it's a tool that is going to give you, let me see, I wish I had a red pen here, Carl. Here we go. It's a tool that is going to allow you to clarify your vision for where you are called to be. It's going to help you have alignment of not only you, but everybody on your team, because it's not just you. If you've got a destiny, if you've got a business, if you've got a ministry, if you've got a company, you have at least 2, 3, or 4 or 5 other people that force multiply for you. If it's all by yourself, you're in trouble. Woe unto him that is alone when he falls. He has no one to help him up. You got to have a team of people that are moving with you. But what kind of alignment do you have with your team? What kind of vision clarity do you have with your team? Vision, alignment, and then how are you doing on the execution aspect? We have an instrument. I want to talk about it now. Developed with such laser-like precision and pinpoint specificity that it literally analyzes you, your team, and convergence. Where are you in terms of 1 to 10 in the process? Are you operating at a level 10, alignment, vision, and execution? And it pinpoints exactly where. 2, 4, let's see, it's 2, 4, 6, 12. There's 18 areas that are going to be measured specifically to analyze where you are. And Mercedes Sparks is with me today too, and we just did a whole 2.5-hour coaching for 7 companies yesterday. Mm-hmm. So this is fresh on our mind today. We said, why don't we share with our level 10 crowd? I mean, you guys are the cutting edge of our personal development community. So I'll throw it back at you guys. Yeah. I think with just 20 minutes in this program, what would be beneficial for them to know about an in-depth profile that will show them their own strengths and weaknesses in terms of convergence leading their own teams.
Yeah, I love this. So one of the reasons we want to highlight this profile, and you're right, it's not part of the level 10 curriculum, but we wanted to kind of pull it in and especially highlight it because for me, work of leaders it's like a jewel with a lot of different facets. And so we talk a lot about DISC. We've talked about DISC on the level 10 Saturday show. And so it's going to lead off with that, but it looks at it in a new dimension. It looks at it as you as a leader. So you leading you're saying like teams, if you're a project manager, honestly, as a father, as a mother, you're leading your own little team there in your household. And so it's really looks at relationship dynamics. And so it goes through hundreds of the top leadership books. It's got, I think it was something like 300 experts that have created this and over 100,000 different responses to this profile and looks at 3 different areas, like you talked about, vision, alignment, and execution. And then within each of those, it's looking at 3 drivers. And I think it totals up to something like 12 different behaviors that they've isolated.
It's 12 behaviors?
Yeah,
6.
2, 4, 6, 18. Yeah, 18 different behaviors that are qualities of an excellent leader. And so it's going to look at all those things. And then to your point, your favorite thing about this profile is that it looks at what are your top 3 constraints? What are the things that are holding you back? This
is such gold, people. I can't say. I'm so glad we actually got involved with this again, because I'm all about helping you guys. I'm a teacher, prophet, a pastor to many. I mean, I do a lot of this in 40 years. You cover all the bases. And I want you to succeed. I don't want you to struggle. I want you to be able to enjoy success. And you have what it takes. If someone will come along and put the focus on what needs to develop, what you need to do more of. Carl, in the work of leader profile, for instance, what kind of it not only covers their own. Well, let's talk to us about what are the fundamental skills you need to have for crafting a vision.
The fundamental skills. Are you referring to the behaviors?
Well, the fundamental skills that go into the vision, what we're measuring in the vision area.
Okay. Well, one of the biggest ones, at least to start, is to remain open and making sure that you are open and receptive to the idea that somebody else might actually have a slightly bigger or maybe even a better idea. So don't close yourself off to the possibilities. To quote Christopher Walken, quoting Bruce Dickinson, explore the space, really explore it, like get out there, put yourself out there and prioritize the big picture. So you don't want to be caught up in the weeds. You don't want to get caught up in the minutia out the gate. You want to wait until you already have a really inspiring, motivating call that beckons you, that gets you up out of bed in the morning. Sometimes people in different fields will say, like, you need to have a why that makes you cry. So when you wake up in the morning, your feet hit the ground and you're ready to go. You're fully energized. You already know what your why is for getting out of bed in the morning. And having a really big picture that is enticing and drawing you out of your comfort is really amazing for that.
And let me just back up for a second, because why would we talk about remaining open and stuff like that? Mercedes, we always like the team innovation profile because I believe innovation is a constant, undying process in a company, because as often as there's change in the marketplace, there's going to have to be innovation in response to it. And those teams that can innovate the fastest have a marketing advantage. Because they're into the market first with a better solution before other people get it.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that this process of vision, alignment, and execution isn't just for the once when we're crafting a vision for the company. It's the discipline of constantly we're going to have to execute and win, and then we'll constantly be in a reimagining. Where are we now? What problems are we solving for? And where do we have to innovate? This information, in other words, isn't designed for a one-time process. This is going to be measuring how you vision, align, and execute on cycles every month, all year long, which is why you need to know about, like, remaining open here on this profile. I have your data in front of me.
Yes.
Remaining open is on one side, seeking closure is on the other. And so sometimes it's important for you to be able to wrap it up and move on. That's your job often. And yet, over on the right, we believe these scales that are on the right that what we've defined here are the optimum best scales for convergence.
Best practices.
For leadership. They're the best practices. So talk about this instrument and this tool and its utility for companies in a recession, in downturns, in struggling times, even ministries. Yeah. This is like the smart thing to look at right now.
Yeah. So while this is built mainly, like you're saying, an application is used in teams, it's also great for individuals. And if we could put the slide back up, I just want to look at a picture-in-picture with me and the slide of the whole work of leaders process. Because we're looking at, when we say vision, alignment, execution, this is honestly any type of project workflow, any type of process workflow. If you've ever worked on a team, doesn't matter what it is, it could be a piece of software, you could be making soap, you get an idea, somebody has an idea, there's a visionary on your team who says, this is what I think we should be making. And then there's a whole process there of, is this a viable idea? Well, what type of, soap should it be? Should it be lavender soap? What should it look like? What color should it be? How should we sell it? And there's a whole vision process, which is really the first stage of any type of product development. Then you're going to have alignment. So this is when you need to go to your team and you're going to really create buy-in. You're going to create structured messaging and saying, hey, here's why we're going to make this soap. It's going to be the best soap on the market, whatever it is. And, we could use practical examples like your book, it's going to shift nations, it's going to shift the election. And everybody gets really excited about that. And then you get to the last phase, which is execution. And so this is the practical, all right, how are we going to create this? It's in the implementation phase. We're going to print all the books, and so there's a workflow to pretty much anything in any type of business process, ministry process. But why this is really cool too on an individual level is, in my opinion, from an HR standpoint, it helps you figure out what your giftings are. What are your top strengths that you should be focusing on? Where do you fit in this process? And then also, like we talk about, Lance, you discuss what are your weaknesses? What are the things that you have opportunities to improve in? And so it's great for individuals, like you said earlier, for the level 10 map of, how do I know where I'm at? But then also it's excellent for teams, because not only can you do an individual profile if you're a leader, an executive, project manager, to figure out, hey, what are my strengths? You can actually do this with your whole team and plot everything out. And they'll give you almost like a number grade in each of these areas. So like on our team, we can be a little light on the alignment. So like within dialogue and exchanging perspectives and being receptive, sometimes just even on our team, it's very much like, hey, here's what we're doing. And there's not a ton of exchanging of perspectives. And so you can kind of see where you're a little light. And so what you need to work on and what you might need to hire for.
This is so important, so important. So
Important.
if you got to, Carl, you say it's important?
I did.
Take this page and explain to them.
What am I looking at?
Yeah, you're the doctor, right? You're looking at the x-ray. And I just handed my son, without any preparation, an x-ray of a group of 7 corporations that we work with here.
Yeah.
And this gives him immediately insight. Hold it up so that the people can see. He's now got an x-ray that is telling him the health of that organization in a snapshot. You, Vanna White, have your ability to know. What would you tell me based on that data on the strengths and weaknesses of that corporation?
I would say out the gate, it's amazing how bold and momentous this group is. They're scoring at an 88 percentile in both of those, which means that they are very bold, they're very driven, they're comfortable taking risks, they're very good at getting momentum going. So from going from 0 to 1 and then from 1 to 5, it seems like that's really where they thrive. As far as areas of improvement, their dialogue is atrocious. They're at a 13%, which means that there is no receptive conversations going on. This is explaining the rationale behind it, and you're allowed to have your opinions, but don't tell them to me.
Okay, now catch this. Under vision, they're bold and audacious. They got a vision from God. Under alignment,
They're convinced they have a vision.
they're convinced they have a vision from God.
Yeah.
Under alignment, they are sucking wind. And the devil is beating the daylights out of them because they're not aligned. And it's not because they aren't all faith people that are not trying to be in strife. It's because they're not having the right conversations. And they're not having the conversations that bring out the best in their creativity. Mm-hmm. What else can you tell me about execution? In
execution, besides the momentum being absolutely phenomenal in the 88th percentile, their structure isn't so good. It seems like the messaging and the providing of the plan and analyzing what that plan is going to mean as far as far-reaching effects.
I got a word for someone right now. Your biggest problem in this downturn economy isn't, especially if you've got a job or a business, and this applies to everyone. Your biggest enemy isn't politics or economics. It's ignorance. Because you see, you have what it takes to win if you would apply the right knowledge to the right point of application. You've got all the vision, all the anointing, all the favor, all the blessing to put you over the top. What you don't have is the knowledge. My people perish for lack of knowledge, not lack of anointing. And the knowledge I want to put on your radar right now is that there's a way of assessing where you are in your vision process on an ongoing basis of seeing what God's showing you and getting your team on the same page, getting them in unity and alignment with that same vision, and getting out of them what God gave them to tell you, which is the dialogue part.
Yeah.
They've got something to say and you're not hearing it.
And beyond that, it goes beyond just the talking about it. I think this actually goes to the tendency to hire like-minded individuals. It seems like I'm looking at a group of D's and I's here,
So,
and that there's not a whole lot of S's or C's in this group.
I consulted a group of leaders in Canada, and I did this kind of data report with them, and it wasn't as good a report as this. And what I found out is they had killed off all the refiners,
Yep.
all the trade conscientiousness, as Jordan Peterson would call it, all the people that would push back on their thinking because they felt they were not in unity if they were questioning authority.
Get behind me,
I mean,
Satan.
so let me say something that's really burning in my heart right now. I haven't played much golf. I wish I could play more because it seems like more business gets done on a golf course than it gets done in a boardroom. But I remember this. When I would go out and play golf, I would swing with all my might. And I couldn't put yards on the ball. And someone came up to me and pointed out to me that the art of hitting the ball the distance wasn't by tensing up and using all the muscle power I had. It was by loosening up and using a kind of elegant flexibility.
Elasticity.
So you see, it's the elasticity. And your problem for a lot of you, based on my communication with many of you, is you could be so abstract and visionary that you're not practical in your execution, and you're getting beat up in terms of pragmatics, not in terms of vision. There are others that are so strong in their opinions, so confident in what they've heard, that they're hitting the ball like I've hit it, too tense. You'll need to learn how to lighten up and loosen up so that the organization has, remember, your victory is in entering into the rest of faith, not the wrestling of faith. It's when you're in the rest that you win. So Mercedes, there's so much to cover, and because we have limited time in these podcasts, just give us what they get in the individual analysis and what they could get with a team analysis if they have a company.
Yeah. So, and maybe because we're running short on time, we should just do a whole nother episode on this topic, because I will not be able to do this justice in less than a minute and a half.
I know.
So, but like we talked about, it does start with the disc. It starts with the disc profile. And so it's going to let you know, are you that results driven D? Are you more that, I'm the life of the party I? Where do you fit? Are you the steady? Are you conscientious? So it's going to look at your disc profile. Then it's going to look at each of these 18 different areas, and it's going to rate you on, hey, where do you fall in the whole vision, alignment, execution process? So as an individual, like I said, it really helps from a HR standpoint. If you're a young person and you're trying to figure out, hey, what are my gift mixes? What are my strengths? This is a great tool to help you do that. You're a recent graduate, or your son, daughter, grandchildren. This is a great tool to help you do that. But if you're also leading teams, this really is, we're called to be the head and not the tail. So in the body of Christ, we all need to be strong leaders. And so that's why we believe this inventory is so important. And so you're going to see where your strengths are. And then it's also going to show you your 3 areas that you really need to work on, your constraints. And so, in putting a plan together there, it helps you do that. So you're going to get this whole inventory. And then to Lance's point, we did this amazing 2-hour training just yesterday. And we thought, we got to make this available to people. So you're going to get the 2-hour training broken up into 3 different parts of the vision, alignment, execution, and this fantastic profile. And so you can get all of that. If you're interested, you want to find out more, you can go to lancewallnau.com/level10team. You can check it out there. But like I said, if it were me, I would do maybe one more podcast.
We'll do one more
because
I got a picture. I got an image of a pastoral couple out there watching this. And one of the important aspects of this is you will be able to get data on where you are on each of these critical leadership skills for vision, alignment, and execution, and where your spouse is. So you could see where you complement each other and where you compete with each other. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine what a golden gift it is to say, well, I've got a ministry vision or a business or a family? There's a $100 million vision right there for your family. How are you vision casting, aligning your family for success, and executing a family culture that brings the kids up with excellence? So I'm telling you, the hidden use of this that even the companies don't use, because they're all business focused that develop these tools, but we look at them as ministry tools, as discipleship tools. Personally, as a seed of Abraham from my Jewish forefathers, I see this as the tools of circumcision, because they cut exactly that aspect of the flesh that needs to be cut so that God can produce the life that needs to be produced. And I would do this profile with my partner, whether it's a business or a ministry, and especially a marriage, to see how do we compete, how do we complement, and and where's the conflict, and where do I need you, and where do you need me in order for us together to win? Because that's the dialogue part Carl was talking about. Are you open for this? LanceWallnau.com/level10team. I love that. And perhaps we'll do another broadcast because this is just such a gold mine, and we're just rushing through an elegant meal here just to get the message to you. But this is the chapter in our research on Level 10 Living that says it's not just convergence for you, it's convergence for a team. That's the bigger goal that God has. So we'll be looking forward to talking to you more about this on our next broadcast.
Did you enjoy this latest episode? Please remember to share it with your friends.